Send your neighbors and friends out there, silence those cell phones. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, first item up is public participation. This is your chance to address the commission. We only have an hour. If everyone here speaks, you got 3 minutes. We'll never speak, which is totally fine. But so hopefully you got some spokespeople kind of lingering out there. If someone has said the same thing you want to say, you can give it an amen or something, I guess. So with that, we'll open it up to public participation. It's first come, first serve. You step right up here to the podium, and if you would give your name and address, and make sure to just speak clearly into that mic so that the clerk can catch it for the record.
Thank you very much. My name is Phil.
Pull it down. Pull that mic down for you. There you go.
I'm not very tall, I guess. Better?
That's better.
My name is Phil Hall. My address is 3365 Catarina Drive in New Smyrna Beach. We need 6 more pickleball courts. 8 years ago, at age 69, I began playing pickleball. Now I play 3 days a week minimum. New Smyrna Beach at the time did not have a single pickleball court. Now pickleball is by far the most popular participating sport for the tax-paying age group in New Smyrna Beach. We do have 5 dedicated courts that get an average of 1,000 man-hours a week use. That's both Pettis and Live Oak, who get 25 plus or minus players every single morning. They get additional play all day long, 7 days a week. Both locations are busy. We need more courts. Pickleball players are normally a very welcoming group. If a new player approaches the court and asks if it's open play, they're normally greeted by someone with a yes, while the 10 people that are waiting start grumbling because it pushes back their amount of court time. We need more courts, please. We are welcoming to all sexes, to races, to age groups. I had an unusual experience for me 2 weeks ago. A lady in a wheelchair showed up at Live Oak, ready to play pickleball. First I'd seen. She was on the sideline when my 3 paddles came up for my turn to play. I looked for a partner. I asked her if she was there to play, and she said yes. I had fun that day, and we actually won, which it was a very good warming experience for me. We've also seen courts crowded locally when drivers have pulled up with 2 or 3 people in a car looking for a place to play, looked at the courts, and just driven away. We don't want a reputation as not being welcoming to all levels and skill players, but the only way we can do that is with more courts. That's the only way that can happen. Their players now are waiting as long to play as they are spending time on the court, and they are becoming very protective of their time on the court, and we don't want that reputation for New Smyrna Beach. We don't need it. We have a location. We need 6 additional courts. I expect the process for new courts to take a minimum of 2 years if we start today.
Let me ask you real quick. Your time is up. Are you kind of speaking on behalf of a broad group, though? Because if so, I think we could just give him a little more time. If that. All right. So we're gonna give you a little more time.
I will.
If we have an agreement that everyone then doesn't follow, we'll just give you a little more time, and we'll go from there.
I will try and wrap it up.
All right.
If we have a 2-year process where you all start the process tonight, that we can develop a section with a portion of the budget, and then this time next year, allocate the monies for the completion of the courts, that would be ideal. If it doesn't get done this year, we're now looking at 3 years to build courts, and that's not a good thing. We need recreation on the west side of New Smyrna Beach. There is none. Right now, you've got developers at Shell Point, at Coastal Woods, at Venetian Bay that would rather sell the lots than provide recreation. We do have space off of Glencoe Road for 6 pickleball courts. The city owns the space. Question is the money available to start the process, and within the next 2 years, make sure that we have a place for all the pickleball players to play. Thank you.
Thank you. As I look out, I see a few people that have beaten me. So, guy over there has. So, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
My name is Melissa Clement, and I live in the proper of New Smyrna Beach. The only thing I would add is that this isn't just for retired people, and all these communities are being built. They're not just retirement communities, nor do I see that they're putting in pickleball courts. Maybe they are, but I don't see it on the proposals. There's going to be an awful lot of people living in the proper of New Smyrna Beach, all wanting to use the same facilities. We already have the snowbirds that have overtaken us, which is fine. I'm all for it. But we need a larger facility, and I think more than pickleball. We need playgrounds, we need parks. If we have property, why are we not using it? Why are we just catering to the businesses that are coming into town and not the citizens that live here? We should also have a covering over 6 pickleball courts so that you can play in the rain. We should also have maybe something that's added onto it. There should be a playground there. There should be other things there. Look at all the people that are coming into New Smyrna Beach. What are we going to do with them? You know, we need to have a place for them to go, and they're not pushing the people that have lived here for 30 years off the places that they can play. We need to all join in. This is the one thing that brings old, working class children together. The schools could use it. The rec departments could use it. We need a bigger facility. We shouldn't stop at 6. If you're going to put the money into it, make it bigger. Get covering for the courts. Light them so they can play at night. The one thing against RTC was that, well, actually, that was the good thing, is that you could go to work and then you could play at night. Okay, and you have the ones at Dotweiler. But I've played there at night. It's really hard to see. They're not very good lights. And there are people there now waiting for pickleball. They have to wait for the tennis people to get off, and that's kind of irritating the tennis people. So if we add more pickleball, that would be the thing to do. Don't stop with 6 and put a cover over them. And that's what I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Any others with additional perspective? Yes, sir. Come right ahead. Come on up. Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Walter Landgraf. I live at 5300 South Atlantic Avenue. I am a retired educator. About maybe 2.5 weeks ago, over at Pettis Park, we had, I'm going to say we're 25, 30 children show up one day. I firmly believe that our future is the youth. I don't know here in New Smyrna Beach, but up north, pickleball is being taught to kids. It's not just retired people. It's not just for people over 55 years old that are going to be playing pickleball. It's going to be a sport in high schools before you know it. I think what you need to look at is that group also when you talk about building pickleball courts, because that's the future. The future is not just me or all these people behind us. It's going to be the youth. They're going to be playing this sport. And you got to start thinking about that and planning for the future. Because as I said before, it's about the kids. And if we can get the kids to play this sport, besides doing other activities. I think it's a win-win for us. I thank you.
Thank you. The other, Owen, yes, sir.
Good evening. Owen Davidson, 202 Quayasisi. Lived here for 50-some years. So, I think most of you are familiar with pickleball by now. And the fact of pickleball is a family-oriented activity. It's not just for old folks like us, but as the previous speaker mentioned, it's for a family event. We can have, lots of people, different people can do it. For the past probably 30 years, I've advocated trying to do something not only in the west side of town, but the far west side of town where Costa Woods is, Venetian Bay is. They've got land. Y'all have approved different projects for them and so forth out there, but we need to have some major acreage out there, something like the sports complex, which is located, you know where that is. So something out there that needs to be done, and I think it's being neglected by the planning department and anybody else. So there's plenty of land out there that we can come in with not only pickleball courts, but as somebody mentioned, a park in general. So I think we need to consider all of those things. Looking forward to your new Leisure Services Director, your new Public Works Director. These are good people, and I think that they're going to have some supportive ideas, and we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other additional perspectives to share? All right. Yes, come right in.
Hello, my name is Connie Zangi, and I live off Sandwich Trail, New Smyrna. Been here for 20 years. I just want to add that it is the fastest growing sport in the country right now. So we need to come along, get this going, and get more people playing. I have a desire to get into the schools as well. As he was speaking, I want to see the kids. I couldn't believe my kids weren't playing it in school. I'm like, what? This is great. They need to be playing it. I'm telling you, everybody can play it. I don't care what size, shape you are, everybody can play pickleball. That's all.
One of the most humbling moments of my life, I walked on a pickleball court, probably about the second time I'd ever played, maybe the third time I ever played. And so I'm younger. I'm still under 40 for another week or so, I can say that. And relatively athletic my whole life. Walk on a pickleball court. Someone barely gets on the court. Older senior citizen lady walks on the court, and I think to myself, "Oh, I'll take it easy on." She smoked me all over that court. She could put that ball anywhere she wanted it. I mean, I don't know if I got the ball back over the net. And at that moment, I realized the unique thing about this sport is the longevity of it, and the great equalizer it is. Because I see a few of you. I've played you, and I've lost to you. And there's not many sports that if we matched up, we might that outcome would be that case. But this is one, so it's pretty unique in that regard. I can testify to that. All right. Any other perspective on pickleball or anything else that anyone came on their mind? All right. If not, we're going to close public participation. Now, I know how everyone wants it to work, and that is that we immediately just vote to approve some pickleball courts. That is unfortunately not how it works. So we will begin our budget workshop, and I think we're going to lead off with David at this point, right? Or you're taking it, okay. What I will say, though, maybe in respect to the folks that are here, maybe if anyone has any comments, I'll share, first of all, full disclosure, I didn't bring all these people here. You all said stuff that I have said, but I didn't talk to everybody in this room. I didn't talk to really anybody in this room. I didn't know they were coming until somebody sent me a text and said, hey, there's a bunch of people coming. But I didn't arrange all this. So out of full disclosure to my colleagues, this isn't my doing. But you heard, we've all said some of these same things. I think we all recognize the need, and now the question is how do we get that need met? But if we want to talk through any of that, and then you are welcome to stick around for the whole time, or you can quietly, make your way out if you are not hearing anything you want to hear further. So I'll open it up with that if anybody has any comments before he begins. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for coming out. I think the turnout alone, 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, gives us a good indication of where pickleball is at. I've heard it for years. It is only getting bigger and more popular. And I think the key to what someone or a few people alluded to is, as we get these bigger communities that get developed out west, I think it's important that staff and the commission needs to look at what we can have the developers do to put that infrastructure in to accommodate the growth, and you all and everybody out west, either not necessarily a big complex, but certainly have pickleball courts being developed in these developments as part of the PUD and development process and approval to the city. Thank you, Mayor.
The one thing I'll say before I forget, and this is just, well, I've got people here that can back me up, if you will. The one thing I have learned about the sport is having 1 or 2 courts somewhere is not kind of the format of the sport. You need that larger, you need 5 to 10 to 12 courts, because that brings the volume of players needed so that when you show up after work at 5:30, you're not having to make sure to call everybody. You just kind of know there's that nucleus of people there, and you can kind of always catch a game. I shared with you all many times. For a while, I was driving to Pictona because these all great folks, they play in the mornings when I have to work. And in the evenings, we don't have a lot of lighted courts. We have Detweiler, which isn't great. We have Pettis Park, which is relatively small, and there was never a game there when I went to play. So I had to go to Pictona to get a game. So I think whatever we do, the onesie, twosie here and there is not, that doesn't add a tremendous amount of value. I would like to see us approach it. If we're going to do anything, let's do it right and do a bigger approach. So, yeah. I usually don't get applause when I talk. All right, anybody else have any comments on this before we move on? All right, go ahead.
Okay. How's that? Is that appropriate right there?
That's
The
good,
volume?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to present my mini budget workshop, Leisure Services presentation. My name is Rob Salazar. I'm the Director of Leisure Services. Quick breakdown of our department, Administration and Recreation at the Babe James Center and the City Gym. The Brandon Center staff oversees reservations and operations of Live Oak Cultural, the Brandon itself, Coronado Civic Center, and the Women's Club of New Smyrna Beach. And we also have the sports complex. I'd like to touch on a few accomplishments and goals for this fiscal year that we've set out. You guys can see the list in front of you, but I want to highlight just a few main ones. I've got 3 I want to touch on. We've established a programming plan at the Babe James Center for our special events and recreational programming for the calendar year for 2022. We've also established a new marketing process checklist to better get our message out to the community. Next bullet, we've begun a restructuring or a reorganizational plan to maximize our personnel, and we don't want to put any Band-Aids on any situations that we've got currently going on, but we've trying to forecast a little better for the continued community growth and future departures of key current staff members for retirement. Third and final point for this slide, we want to adopt and amend some of the promotional Brandon Center rates that have been in place to maximize the rentals and the revenue generated by the center. Leisure services staffing, the total FTEs in the department remain the same from 21 to 22 fiscal years. I'll address this later on in the slideshow as well with a few additional positions that I'm going to be requesting. This is the budget for leisure services as of January 24th on what we've spent. On track for this time in the fiscal, but just to give you kind of a snapshot of where we stand. Same with the Brandon. The Brandon Center, like I said earlier, the Brandon Center staff actually manages and rents out the Live Oak, Coronado, and Women's Club when it's operational. But this is strictly budgetary towards just the Brandon Center. We've also, Shauna and our team there have done a great job trying to really push reservations and get bookings in there. I spoke with her yesterday, and we have 44 out of 52 weekends booked for the calendar year. So we're working to fill those up. This is the sports complex to date as of January 24. So everything's around that 18 to 20% across the board for our three main budgets. Some of our capital items I wanted to touch on. Excuse me. One of the main options we want to look at is getting the 15-passenger van for recreation. I've got that under the Babe James Center, under capital equipment. That will allow us to maximize programming with field trips during the calendar year, not just during summer camp, for our after-school programs, or we can take senior trips or day trips to whatever destinations we're going to program for along those lines. We're also working on getting a new recreation software update. We've spoken previously about the special events workflow when we reviewed the open container policy, and we're trying to get a software that can kind of streamline that and let that work through the city staff a little more smoothly and use that as a resource rather than a hindrance. I'm trying to get that done in this fiscal with possible money savings from other projects, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to, so I put it in for this budget. A few other items I'd like to speak to. We have 3 projects that I would like to possibly review with you guys at a later date for ECHO grants to see what our priorities would be for either expansion of the skate park, development of the pickleball courts, or the resurfacing of the track at the sports complex. Those are 3 big ticket items that are on the radar that need to be figured out which path we're going to go down. Okay. Some of the fiscal goals for 22-23. This is a long list, obviously, but I just want to touch on a few, like I said. Priorities to increase the programming at City Gym and bring new programs to the department. We're working on developing calendars to continue to boost up our programming offerings to our citizens. I spoke on the recreation software. That will definitely be accomplished by next fiscal year at the absolute latest to get that implemented, but that's something that's on the radar as well. And then to generate for the Brandon Center a little more self-sufficiency, gain as close to breaking even as we possibly can, or possibly making revenue. I've brainstormed some ideas with staff for passive revenue opportunities that we're going down those lines as well. We've done a SWOT analysis for the center, and we're looking at trying to move in that direction. The Turnbull Creek Watershed Preservation Project, quick update on that. We are currently going through an environmental assessment with the Biological Consulting Services. They're to have a report to me with their findings by the end of March. We also have our Turnbull Creek Land Preservation Committee coming back. We're meeting on Monday with the committee, and I'll brief them. I met with the Joe Young, the representative from the consulting firm, last week, and he kind of gave me a broad scope of where he's at. He needs a little more time in the field to get going, but this is definitely still on the radar, and we're working towards getting on track with our management plan. So the 2 bullets listed on the bottom of the slide, contacting the companies for initial discussion and possible A&E work on the observation tower deck, and then the installation of the benches along the nature trail. Those potentially can be done this fiscal, and we're going to strive to do that as long as we can keep it moving. Next up is our future capital slide, fiscal 22-23. That was the first column. That's this fiscal year. Those are the some of the projects and equipment I'm going to be requesting. And then you can see some forecasting done for future projects or equipment that could be needed down the road. So that's also listed on there. This is a quick snapshot of our current city staff in an organizational chart. This is where we're currently set up like. I have a phased approach to implement some strategic positions to help help us move forward and possibly create some, opportunities for staff to grow from, entry level to middle management to upper management, kind of a succession planning type scope. In my phase 1, I implement a sports complex and athletics manager and a rec special events manager, and you can see those in the slide in light blue. The importance of those positions is it kind of creates that tier that doesn't exist currently in our department, that mid to upper management level. That's very critical for our staff to be able to grow into, but not only that, just to deliver the levels of service we need to the community. Phase 2 is focused on City Gym. I'd really like to get staff at City Gym so we can maximize programming that I spoke to previously. Ideally to have an athletics coordinator and possibly a rec leader there, dedicated there, not just sitting there in the interim or because somebody sent them down to the center. But we can, if we had that opportunity or those positions, we could really grow the offerings we have at the center with dedicated staff. And that's my presentation. Any questions?
Mr. Clody.
A couple things.
Yes, sir.
The 15-passenger van, do you have a van now?
No, sir.
So we haven't been running any
We
programs?
do not have a 15-passenger van. We have a small, it's similar to, it's about a 7-passenger maximum, including the driver. So we do not have a vehicle that can currently facilitate that.
And are you going to keep that vehicle?
I've discussed with our maintenance operations and transitioning that vehicle to them to potentially fill a need in their department. So we would, the city would still have the resources, but we would possibly move it to another department.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the van. I do have a problem if we're just passing down a vehicle that might be past its life, and we really don't even know what it could be used for at this time. Sure. Second thing is on the project list. Last couple of years, we've had been contemplating LED lighting, major lighting changes. Are you no longer thinking that's worthwhile doing?
So I saw that in the previous presentation that David put together. I certainly hold value in that, but with such a large dollar figure on that, I wanted to do a little more research on that before putting that in something I asked for.
I wish you would do that research because I think that was a very valuable project. Also, we've done some other lighting out there. I'd like a report as to how much we've saved and how it's benefited the people using it as well as our budget. Last thing is the Turnbull Bay capital projects, which is what they are. I don't know if that really fits into your department. I think that should be handled elsewhere. You can operate it, you can make suggestions into it, but I don't know if you people have the resources to really set up a program like that. So I think the commission should really look into that. We have deadlines on that because we accepted a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
See these lights? See how important they are? We have to get moving because we do have deadlines on that. And
Yes, sir.
You have a pretty aggressive agenda, which I like the looks of it overall. And I don't want to see the Turnbull Creek forgotten. Also, Turnbull Creek Committee is working on more acquisitions and how are they all going to fit in. So I would like to see you concentrate elsewhere and the committee can discuss where that responsibility should lie. Now, a number of people from this is not a question for you.
Sure.
A number of residents have spoke about pickleball courts. And one of the things that struck me is something that I've been speaking about for probably about 2 years, is we're just getting loads of people out west. And none of the previous commission had the foresight to have these developers set aside lands for us. So in our master parks planning and the planning to put facilities out there for those residents so they don't have to drive through the endless traffic to get to the east end of town. before we embark upon piecemeal improvements, it's not your responsibility to do it, but I just want the audience to know that's a very important thing that we have to do. For pickleball, I don't play pickleball, but I see it a lot because I drive past Owen's house multiple times during the day. So the use is there, and I would like to see us move ahead with pickleball and possibly a few other things. As to the size of the complex, there is value in making it larger, but it costs more, so maybe we can come up with a phasing plan for that. But I would support that. Skate park has also been around a couple of years, a very valuable, overused facility that is desperately in need of improvements just to start with, let alone expansion. So I would like to see you follow through on that. Like I said, and was brought up by the audience, it's a very broad range, broad age group of people that really need a little more outlets. As we get overbuilt, it's hard to ride around. You don't want to spend a half hour driving to play for 1 hour. So we got to put a lot of effort into that, and I think that lies at this commission level. That's it. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Other comments from the commission? Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Rob, the priority for me is maintaining the parks that we have. A lot of the beachside areas are subject to salt, and if staff could keep an eye on the metal portions of play equipment and other facilities at those organized complexes, either play areas, basketball and such, tennis courts. It's fixing up the old stuff and keeping an eye on maintenance so that we don't have that great expense of replacement later on down the line, if we could. I'm sure you probably foresaw the tremendous desire for more pickleball courts. I do think it is warranted in our city. All ages can play, certainly, and I'm very glad to be of that age group that really took this on, that challenge, and can still be very active and slam a ball, and you better watch out. But I appreciate it, and I hope you'll do a good job for us, and I hope you enjoy the job.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't have anything specific to add other than I do have some questions about the 6 pickleball courts. Have you been provided with a number on approximately how much this would cost, or whether or not we're going to put lights on this? Just trying to get my head around kind of what the community is looking for on this. Where are you at with that? Is this new to you?
So I will let David speak to that more. He'll have that in more depth than I will. I know he's working on a project that kind of will address that for you, and he's got a plan that I'm not going to take his thunder from you.
That's great. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
So, yes, it was a great presentation, and I really like your organizational chart. I think it's very detailed and to the point. But you mentioned a couple things about ECHO grants. Are you going to the ECHO grant meeting?
Yes, sir.
Have we applied for anything, or do you have anything in the works for this year?
So you have to attend the meeting. The meeting's Thursday, 2 days from now. And I'm bringing myself and my assistant director, Kimla, will be attending. You can't apply for anything until you attend the meeting. So during the meeting, I was planning to ask them what our city has, committed to already, and let them tell me what I'm allowed to apply for at that time.
All right. Can you tell me a little bit about the movie equipment?
Absolutely. So I would like our department to purchase some movies in the park equipment. It would basically be an inflatable screen where we would get a projector and a sound system, and we'd be able to host, monthly or bi-monthly, quarterly, whatever schedule we determined, movies in the park. We could rotate it around, or we could develop a consistent park that we would go out and host a movie in the park to the community. Okay. That's kind of the vision.
Because you're aware the MDC has a little amphitheater that was designed for that purpose.
Did not know that.
Okay. That may be something we'll look into. Maybe
Sure.
we could partner with them.
Have the equipment.
Definitely,
Yeah,
I think it'd be great.
to
Do they have the equipment to do that? Do you know?
I don't know. I know they've done movies out there, so I'm assuming they have some equipment.
Okay.
So you may want to look into that. And on some of your wish list, a water heater for the splash park. I've been told there's not a whole lot of activity out there, so I would hope that between now and the actual budget cycle, you evaluate some of these things and truly see if it's a necessity or just a wish list. I don't think kids go to the splash park to get warm water. I think the cold water is the whole purpose during the summer months. So, but I do like your presentation. I have one question about your organizational chart.
Yes, sir.
Though on these new positions, are they additional positions, or are you just going to promote people from within?
So
Or evaluate?
my philosophy is to advertise the position, and then the best candidate would be selected for the job, whether that's internal or external. They would
Okay.
be new positions, yes, sir.
So it's an additional staff person.
I could potentially reclassify FTEs that are vacant to get there.
Okay.
If we have FTEs that are part-time and they're vacant, we could use those FTEs. There would be an increased cost in salary,
Right.
but that could offset some of that cost.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to go really, really quick because I know we've got David and then trying to get wrapped up in time for the next meeting. So a couple of things, and this is not just for you, Kyle, this is more broader for all departments. This year, what I'm particularly going to be looking at is trying to be as lean as possible with kind of new things or nice to haves like water heaters at the splash park. I'm going to be very, very focused on, are we hitting R&R that adds value? So we're replacing a piece of equipment or lighting or something that, over time will have a return on investment. Okay. So I'm going to be very focused on that. And then meeting some needs that I think are kind of brewing in the community. So pickleball is here, the skate park, that's one that has been on the radar for a while. I've been there. I've said it publicly. It's an embarrassment for our community. I've driven by it. It's used. It's giving kids an outlet. That also is a sport for all ages, not quite like pickleball, but so we need that. The track, that's also an embarrassment. Frankly, I had to introduce the governor on that track one time. I wish it would have been in better shape. So these things are all kind of, they're becoming priorities for me. So I'm hoping we can hit some of these big items, and this probably isn't the year I'm going to be looking to try to fill a lot of the little stuff. But if we can hit some things that again have an ROI, I could support that. On the Brandon Center, I like where you're going with the staffing, and I took that approach a few times in my career as well. The whole upgrading some positions, combining a few things to get a different level of position than two part-time, lower end, having one. So I like that. If it means I'd rather do that than try to create a whole new position. Maybe we just add 10,000 to a budget line. So I like where you're going with that. Look forward to seeing more of that. And then the last thing on the Brandon Center, just an idea, and I just keep forgetting to mention it. We can talk more, but I attended the Glenn Miller Orchestra that was there. This was on a Tuesday at 1:30 in the afternoon or so. The place was packed. They sold out every seat in the house. Every chair we had was sold. 400-something tickets. I ran the numbers. That concert, which was not done by the city, it was done by an independent person. That concert broke even at least. It probably made money for the organizer, but at least it broke even. And it got my wheels spinning of, do we have an opportunity? Could we do something like that? Either internal, it's a house, working with a promoter. I reached out actually to the promoter that has the Glenn Miller Orchestra. They have many other acts such as Floyd Kramer, cover bands for some of these, the Beatles and things. And they say these things will pack out houses. I mean, they appeal to a demographic that I think we have. They're very, very reasonably priced. So I think it's something I'd love to just explore more. So I'll send you all the information I have. And again, the idea is if we can increase utilization of the facility, maybe generate enough revenue to offset some other fixed costs we have, or even if it's just a break even, I could support it because we're using the facility and it's bringing the community to the facility. So, anyway, a lot of exciting things. So, thank you. And on pickleball, I think it's pretty clear what I said on pickleball. Last thing I'll say on that, I promise, is I think the irony, I may have said it at another commission meeting, is I went to Port Orange. I got a text while this has been going on from a buddy. He said, hey, we're playing pickleball in Port Orange tonight if you want to come. And the irony of that is I played there a few weeks ago, and I get there, and our city engineer's there playing, and I'm there playing, and a bunch of other New Smyrna citizens are there. We have to drive to Port Orange to play, and that's, I think we can do better. So I'm hopeful that we can do that. It won't happen overnight. Lighting is a must-have, though. And again, as the working class guy that plays mostly at dark, you got to do the lighting if we're going to do it. So wherever we do that. So, all right, that's it. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, gentlemen.
David. When did you take over this role? It was November, right? November, December?
Right before Christmas.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
All right, well, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Here is the presentation for maintenance operations. First off, everything that maintenance operation covers, from administration to our building and maintenance department, city marina, golf course, fleet department, streets, stormwater, solid waste, maintenance for all the parks. Some of our goals and accomplishments that we have for this current year, we're planning right now with the budget that we have, roughly 6.5 miles of city streets are planned to be resurfaced, and that's going to actually be brought to you all probably within the next month or so with the final list of streets. We're just actually waiting for the Utilities Commission to get back to us with some of the streets that they may or may not be having some projects on. And if they do, then we'll take those streets off and move on to the next lowest PCI street that we have. We are coming to an end on our median landscape projects that we're putting together for 44 and US 1. The FDOT currently gave us some of their final comments, so we are going through those comments, and we'll get it back to FDOT within the next week or so. So our plan right now is to have that out to bid in March. And as soon as we have it set, ready to go out to bid, we're going to bring that to you all as well before we go out to bid at a meeting, either the first or second meeting in March is the current plan for you all. One of the other things to highlight on this page is the relocation of our building and maintenance from Smith Street over to our maintenance operations building, and with the redoing of our streets bays over there as well that are beyond repair and beyond their life cycle over there. We're hoping to actually go out to bid late spring and see what those numbers come back and fit it within the budget that we have allotted. A few more of the accomplishments that we've done this year is we've negotiated the 5-year contract extension with Waste Pro to continue our solid waste and our yard waste and recycling. We do have the Canal Street improvements. We did add the lights that hopefully you all have seen. We are actually adding the crosswalk. That's getting started on Monday. The demolition and the new concrete is going to be added. We're going to put it over by Orange Street. So we're going to have a whole nother crosswalk that's going to be ADA compliant. Right now we're working on the planning under the oak trees, and we're coming up with a plan for that. So and we're working with the Canal Street merchants, so they're completely on board with us, and we're on the same page. We are working, and we have the final numbers for converting the sport complex, part of the overflow lot, to bring the dog park that used to be at Turnbull Park and bring it over there. So we are working on that, and we're hoping that if we can move forward with that, we'll hold a community meeting with the Animal Control Board and hopefully have that completed sometime over the summer. This is our current staffing organization chart. Right now we have 4 vacant positions, but this is the breakdown of the entire department. Our budget as it stands right now, effective on February 1st, these are the numbers that we're at currently. And some of the numbers, especially under the stormwater and the sanitation, they're low right here because they haven't been billed out yet, some of the projects that we've done. So it's relative to a certain extent based on the invoices that have been paid out. And this is our golf course and marina, a combination of where they're at expense-wise and where they're at revenue-wise from last year to this current year. So the golf course is actually doing the best it's done over the last several years. They're up more over the last 3 months than they have been over the last 7 years. So they're showing great improvement. Everyone seems to really love the greens and tees. We've gotten nothing but compliments coming from the course, and it's packed, and packed enough to where we're almost running out of carts on a daily basis, and the batteries are dying, and we're recharging them on a consistent basis to get them, to make sure we even have enough carts. So the course is doing really well. Some of the requests that we have from our department, we're going to be needing to replace the roof on our maintenance operations admin building. The city marina, we just received the engineering report back, so we're putting everything together to correct any of those deficiencies that we have there. So that'll be coming to you all at a later date, since we recently just received that report back. One of the aspects we want to do for parks is we've seen a lot of vandalism. We've seen a lot of, even on our shell roads. So we want to bring security cameras and bring them to all the parks, and we want to do a phased 2-year approach. Roughly speaking, to have it all under one system, working with our IT department, the cameras are going to cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 per camera to set up in a park, and have it be, to where we can access it. It's all web-based. So by doing that, we'd be looking at $75,000 a year. We'd be looking at roughly bringing in 30 to 45, 50 cameras per year, and we figure over the course of 2 years, that'll cover all the parks that we need and all the areas that we need covered on. Some of the additional projects are going to be identified and pushed through with the Parks Master Plan, and where you all want us to take that plan. Our streets department, so far we've been working with the $700,000 a year. Our consultant that did our PCI for us has recommended the $1.2 million per year. For our stormwater, these are the projects that we've been working on and will be working on as we're going forward throughout the year. Some of the capital equipment requests, a few that I'd like to highlight is over our fleet department. Our gas tanks are getting to that point to where those really we need to take a hard look at replacing those. I know it's a big cost, but when our gas tanks over maintenance ops essentially service 90% of the vehicles in the city and the Utilities Commission, it's something that we can't let those fail.
These are those above ground tanks up there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Some of the other capital equipment that we're looking at, as we get into the stormwater, one of the other aspects that we'd like to see is a new street sweeper, where right now we have a company that is doing the street sweeping for us, that we feel that if we bought our own street sweeper, they've come a long way since we used to do it ourselves, years ago. It also acts as a mini VACCON, to where there are certain areas and certain culverts that we can't get our current VACCON to. This also acts as kind of a mini VACCON that we can get to areas that would just damage property trying to get our current VACCON there. But with the street sweeper, we'd be able to do more streets, do them more often if necessary. We can go 5 days a week. So it's just a different option to give more back to the residents and the community as a whole. One of the other aspects that we'd like to see too, that we're going to put in for is for streets, is a bucket truck. It's a 2003, and we only have 59,000 miles on it, but it's not so much the miles on that bucket truck as it is the amount of time it's idling and we're using the bucket. So the hours far outweigh where we're at. And this would be replacing one of our bucket trucks, as we have a second one, but with the amount of tree work that we do, and we're putting all those numbers together that we can give you all as well, the amount of trees that we're trimming on a consistent basis, so we'll have more numbers to back all that up for you. And then as we start looking into the following year and a couple years down the road, we started putting together some of the projects and equipment that we'd be looking at going forward, just to kind of put it on the radar and start that process of our, you know, a regular replacement process for us. And that's, I mean, that's
Do you want to go ahead and touch on, I think he teed you up to touch on something
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner McGurk had asked him.
So I can tell you to do one pickleball court, you're looking at roughly, without lights, just a straight pickleball court from the ground, from scratch, you're looking at roughly $30,000. To do it correctly, to do the underlayment, to do the asphalt or concrete, to do the net, to do the lines, to do the painting of the court, and you know, you're looking at roughly $30,000 per court.
Go.
Thank you, Mayor. So I picked up, I haven't heard specifics necessarily. I think I picked up on some rooms they're talking about some courts off Glencoe, some old tennis courts or something. A new court from dirt is going to be 30,000. Do you have an idea of what a conversion would cost?
A conversion, you know, obviously it depends on what kind of shape the current court's in. Does it have to be resurfaced, or can it just be repainted and relined and putting, you know, the true pickleball nets in instead of a tennis net? I mean, you can get by with several $1,000s. You know, it's not going to be anything extraordinary if it's a conversion.
Okay, and then obviously lighting has to do with whether or not there's already electrical. There's
Right.
a lot of that goes into that.
Yeah. To give you a rule of thumb, if you were to put a new baseball field in, if you were going to add field lights to that, which realistically at any court you'd rather have some type of field lights. If you're going to put field lights on for a baseball or softball field, it's $250,000 to put lights in, to put those style lights in.
And when they talk about a shade structure, they're not talking about a simple sail. What usually goes on these courts?
You're looking at, if you want to be able to play, well,
Someone said playing in the rain, but
if you're playing in the rain, then you're looking at a roof. Whether it's an open air roof where it's just, you know, it doesn't have to be an enclosed building, but you'd be looking at more of a pavilion style roof on it.
Okay. Okay. I got an idea that we're getting into the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you want to see it, I would encourage all of you, take a trip up to Holly Hill, visit Pictona. The covered courts they have there, you know, it's probably a little bit bigger than what you need, a little bit taller than what you need, but that's kind of where you'd have to go to have a covered court. The lighting, though, I don't think I mean, they have the lighting there, and it's just the 4 LEDs on it's nowhere near 250. I mean, that number's way, way lower. So I think that number's probably lower. The covered courts definitely gets into money. My thought would be build it the first time, you know, get the courts built, build it in such a way you can always put that back on top of it, but let's get the courts and then figure out how we, you know, maybe somebody hits the lottery and can.
Right, I heard the courts in Holly Hill were built by a couple who
Yeah.
donated a lot of money.
100%, yeah.
Okay, all right. Just
Yeah.
trying to get to put together all the little pieces of information.
If you wanted to do a phased approach, you can do the courts and put the footers in for the roof, and then put the roof in the next year.
Come back, add
Right.
roof later, yeah. All right, we'll just come down the line. Commissioner Colodi.
One thing, both in this presentation and the previous one, you did a good job of explaining some of the little pieces that you want to do. However, I personally don't find much value in the year-to-date expenditures because they're not all uniform throughout the year. So I would just leave that off future reports. What I would much rather see is a year-to-date comparison as to what our current budget is and what the budget would be if you got, I'm not going to call them wish list items, but all your items on there and how much that would drive the budget up. And then we could look for, make better decisions over that. On the maintenance building, Will the plans have solar on the roof? Solar electric generation?
So what our plan right now is to have it be solar ready. So then if we move forward with the solar can be added to the roof for an additional cost.
I would like to see that bid as an alternative,
Okay.
to carry that forward.
Sure.
And also, in the plans, do you have any electric charging facilities built in? Being whether we like it or not, we're going to be using electric vehicles, and I don't want to have to retrofit or main maintenance yard for that.
We've had discussions about having it be essentially stubbed in for it, and then have it be put in if necessary, but the infrastructure would be there for it. We've had talks about bringing the stubbing in for that with the new buildings.
That would be fine by me, because we don't have the electrical vehicles at this point, but we're going to be buying them. There's no doubt about it, and it's probably going to come first with trucks, because that's where the lead in the industry is going, because it's much easier for them to put batteries in trucks that are already heavy, and they make more profits on them anyhow. So that's what's coming. And we've got a number of things listed in here for truck replacements. Last thing is, street sweeper. It's a bad idea. I have been in charge of street sweeping operations elsewhere. If you buy one sweeper, they break down, and all hell breaks loose because the parts are hard to get, hard to maintain, they're very expensive. Maybe what we should also do is take a closer look at our contract we have now. I know we've had difficulties with some of the other contract sweeping companies, but if we can tie up those specs, I think we would be better off in the long run. Normally, I like to see things done in-house, but this is just one thing we really don't want to go for. On the cost of the facilities for pickleball, if you're going to do it right, you're going to put in courts, you're going to put in fencing, you're going to put in lights, you're going to put in some type of restroom facility, you're going to put in a parking lot. 6 courts, we're going to spend $500,000, and we should look carefully into that. It's not that I'm opposed for it. It would make a great application item for ECHO grants, but if we're going to do it, we should do it right. That's my comments.
Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave, I especially want to thank you for the passion that you bring to your job. I could tell that you had that in your work at the sports complex, and I appreciate the speed at which you've corrected a few of the problems that we see. And I don't want to pontificate, but I always say a city is valued by the quality of its parks, whether they're passive or whether they're complexes with facilities. And I'd really like to see those brought up. It was evidenced when I went the other day. I don't normally go that far north, honestly. And when Commissioner Hartman and Commissioner Colodi mentioned Esther Park, I drove up to take a look at it myself and saw that it was partly Mother Nature and partly time that did a little bit of damage, but Mother Nature did the worst. Stormwater runoff and possibly very high tides reached that impoundment. But for now, I would approve your budget. I have a question about the cover or a cover for a pickleball court, if and when we decide to do it, to possibly have one with a cover. And if anybody would field this question, the first one we put in at Pettis, was the cover donated by the pickleball team? Randy, do you remember?
It's not covered.
To my knowledge, we don't have any covered pickleball courts that are outdoors.
The one at Pettis does not have a cover.
It is
No.
not covered, no. I just played it the other night. It's lighted. It is
lighted.
that one and Detweiler are the only 2 lighted courts that I know of.
It was lighted because it was originally a
exactly.
tennis court
Yeah.
that we converted half of it, so
Yeah,
that's the reason the lighting is there. But we have no outdoor covered pickleballs.
yeah.
Okay, thanks. My concern going forward is having nice facilities out west as well. I do think the Turnbull Creek Preserve park as a passive park is a wonderful addition, but I would like to keep it passive with trail and lookout. But if we could explore somehow utilizing that waterway, the creek, I don't know if the lake is private or not, but the creek is a good inlet to Turnbull Bay as well. So that's something I hope we can look forward to. But other than that, I'll reserve my comments. And again, thanks for the great job you've been doing.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thanks, Mayor. Briefly, we changed the marina fee structure. Are we into that yet? Are we collecting on those new fee structures yet? Or when does that start?
We are, right now, we're in the process of letting all the current tenants and the waitlist tenants know essentially what's going to be happening going forward. We are no longer with the service that we had, the DACWA service, so we're transitioning out of that. And finance has been a great help with us too to get those invoices out to those. So we're working on getting the updated out to all the tenants that we have.
Okay, so we really, it's too early to start
Right.
looking at any of those numbers. Thank you. I'm going to use this as a brief opportunity just to speak to the people who've come out and talked today. And I know Owen, I see Owen. Owen's one of the people in town who knows a lot of the history of the town. I love the idea. I see the future. I agree with why you all are here and what you want. New Smyrna Beach is the lowest tax city. We're the second lowest, but if you compare apples to apples, we're the lowest tax city. Historically, New Smyrna Beach was a blue-collar working-class town. You can say you didn't get anything, but you didn't get taxed anything. New Smyrna Beach has fundamentally shifted over the past 10, 20 years now. A lot of people, we've seen it coming, we see it happening, and it's happened. We also have to transition away from the thinking of you don't get paid to work much, you don't get paid a lot to live to work in New Smyrna, but you get to live here. You don't get taxed anything, but you don't get anything. So I just want to say that because the challenges that we have to deal with are accommodating people with the quality of life, the level of service, and the kind of changes that you all are asking for. There's a whole line of them. And I don't want to rain on your parade. That's not what this is about. I agree with you 100%. You see a little bit of the budget. I'm glad you all stayed. I'm actually very tickled to death that you all took the time to stay and look at the presentations. And you can see, we don't live in luxury with what we have. We have vehicles from 2005, 2006. So I'm with you. I hear you. We want to get things going. Obviously, as was mentioned, pickleball courts, talk about them 5, 10 years down the road doesn't help you guys. So we're focusing. I'm going to focus as much as I can to help provide as much as you guys need as soon as we can. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the presentation.
Well said, Vice Mayor.
David, appreciate the presentation tonight. But I thought that in last year's budget, we approved the roof on the,
It was
the sandblasting and the solar panels were all included in last year's.
the sandblasting was at the sport complex. This sandblasting is going to be for the open bays that are attached to our maintenance house building that the fleet uses.
Okay, I thought that was on the list for last year also, though.
The sandblasting was not,
Okay.
not for maintenance ops.
But the roof was.
But the roof was not approved for, the full roof replacement wasn't approved. The skylights were approved. The skylight areas that were leaking within the garage.
Okay, well, that's not my recollection of last year's budget, so either way, we did secure a loan for the solar panels, so that money should be in this year's budget or should be available. So if we go forward, as long as we're going forward, I think when they did their study originally 3 years ago, pre-COVID, I thought they determined that the roof was sufficient to hold the solar panels. And with new technology, it should be even so. So I certainly would encourage you to go forward with that. And you're outbuilding for the building trades, moving them from Smith Street. I had hoped that we would be further along in that project because there's a tremendous piece of property over there that we could possibly sell to pay for some of these adventures that we're trying to go forward, you know, once we get them out of that location and get it on the market. I believe it was I'm not sure if it was a workshop or a city commission meeting that we talked about enhancing the pickleball courts at the library. And at that time, you know, we brought up that maybe we need to look at going west because we have nothing west. And all of our recreation impact fees are coming from people who are buying out west and building out west. So whatever we do, I will support anything that is west. And since we already have the property, it's not a problem of trying to look for property. We own property out there already next to the tennis center. So to me, that seems to be a more logical place and certainly would be something that would be save on the cost a little bit. And originally I thought it was 5 acres, but maybe 13 acres that we have out there.
We have a total of 81 acres, but only 13.8 acres that it's actually upland.
Okay. So we have some possibilities out there going forward, and certainly, you know, in the early planning stages, as we do this as a phased project, I certainly support the phasing of these things because, you know, we certainly can't pay for them all in 1 or 2 years. So, but I do support that idea. I had some questions about the landscaping going forward. You had a couple of landscaping projects, and irrigation was a big part of that. I mean, I hope we're looking at Florida-friendly landscaping plants and stuff so that we have minimal landscape or irrigation problems going forward. You know, there always seems to be a problem when they don't work in the medians and stuff.
Right.
So certainly something that will be less dependent on water would be ideal. And the generator for Hope Street, if we're putting in a whole new system, so it's currently underway where we've increased everything with 3-phase power and all that, we already had a generator for that purpose, for when the other pump broke down. So do we really need another generator? Is this replacing that one, or?
This is essentially replacing that one that would be trailered, that can be essentially just for Hope, and then the one that we have been using at Hope, we can use essentially in any other area in the city, any of the other hotspots that we need it in.
All right. I just kind of question that with the UC's reliability getting better and better all the time. You know, we need something that's going to be there and sit idle for months and months at a time and just be a maintenance headache going forward, or whether we should stay with the trailered unit. But again, like your presentation and your organizational chart, it looks very impressive. I appreciate that. And hopefully we get some of these things checked off sooner than later.
All right, David, I really can just echo a couple of my colleagues' comments. I think Jake said it well. You know, I had great respect for you. You took on a big role and did great stuff at the sports complex, and now you're a few months into this new role, and we're all behind you 100%, and look for good things to come out of this. This role, I say this all the time, and I tell your employees every chance I get, you know, if you go back to the department list of what is under you right now, you got administration, building, marina, fleet, golf course, parks, streets, solid waste. This is the lens through which most of our citizens view the city and its operations. So, you know, when folks interact with the city, it's usually not at a meeting like this. It's not hearing us talk. It's seeing you and your team and the product they put out there. So we really appreciate it. We know you guys work hard, and your whole team, guys and gals, and we appreciate it. And then to Commissioner McGurk, Vice Mayor, McGurk, I think your comments were well said. I mean, I've touched on this issue at the State of the City. You know, you've seen the detail, and by the way, we're probably the only city I know of that does this level of kind of detail and reviewing and holding, ourselves and our staff accountable and looking at this and the coming up with the things that we want or even need is not very hard at all. I mean, what you saw today is probably, started out with many more things, and staff has really boiled this down to what do I want to go out there and maybe put my neck out there for and maybe get beat up for, as you've heard a little bit today. So that's not the hard part. The hard part is prioritizing and then funding this. And to Commissioner McGurk's point, we have tried to strike this balance of keeping our millage and your all taxes and our taxes as low as possible, while also achieving that level of service and, quality of life that we all want. But the pressure that I'm feeling, when we have rooms full like this, the pressure we feel, and I said this at the State of the City, when we have the final budget hearing and we're talking about the tax rate and we're talking about bumping that up just a skosh to pay for some of these kind of things, don't then fill the room up and now we want, we can't do it all. We can't have the lowest tax rate and also do some of these great things. So like this is the direct, what I'm hearing from the people that I represent is we want to have nice things. I'm not saying we blow the budget. I'm saying we go crazy. I'm saying that we want to invest in our city. We want to have some of these things. And so I think that's what we're going to try to balance this year moving forward. But again, I'll challenge you the same way I did others. I'm really looking for a fairly lean thing, lean budget. This isn't the year. I want to invest in our people this year. I'm going to talk about that more later. I want to invest in our people this year and our critical systems, and then some of these big things, these big gaps that I think we have. And some of that, to Commissioner Hartman, can come out of impact fees. Because these are truly impacts. I think it's the definition of why the impact fee exists is exactly this. The impact of this development is we need recreational opportunities to the west, and so hopefully we can deploy some of those. So I fully support that as well. So, all right, Colin, anything to add to either of these before we
just
wrap up?
a few things about pickleball courts. I think Commissioner Colodi touched on this. It's really not just a court, but then you got a site plan process. You got landscaping and parking and other issues to go along with it. As far as the roof for the maintenance op, it was in the budget last year. It wasn't approved because if you remember, we had to delay it. We cut it out of the budget last year to make up some of the difference from the budget. As far as I know, if that's correct, Finance?
Good memory, Commissioner Hartman. Impressive. Yes, we had $300,000 in the budget for a solar panel. However, financial source was loan, what we call loan number 2. So that expense was added to our elevation homes project. But as you know, we never went forward with that. We never took a loan. We added to the budget so it would be added to that maintenance apps building. But we really never had the money, so to speak. Okay. So direction I received was added because it was attached to that maintenance building. In the budget, we had $550,000 for that, and it was financed with that loan from Region Bank. So does it explain?
Yeah, there's that bit of a disconnect, and when we see the whole budget process and go through that whole budget process and the wish list, when you do the final, we don't get that same wish list with strike through saying this was strike, this was struck, this was struck.
Yeah.
So I know that we had discussed it last year and had to assume that when we approved the budget, we don't get a final that was cut. And it's probably on my fault because I didn't go back and look at it, so I apologize for that. But
well,
I knew
budget now it's on the website, and if you go to capital improvement section, it's right there.
Okay.
And you will see that finance source would be what we call loan 2, which we did not go forward yet.
Okay.
I think Commissioner Hartman, we came back to the commission. I think we showed the items that we cut out of the list that we had. If you remember, we had the list of items to cut from, and I think we came back and we showed the commission. I could go back and look at the agenda at that time, but I think we did. And Mayor, one last thing is just to bring up, I know that we're running out of time, but on the resurfacing, I just want to make sure that it's a concern for me and for staff. I think the $700,000 is not really enough for the amount of miles that we have in the city. As you saw in the presentation by David, the consultant suggested $1.2 million. And so for the past 2 years, we've been using 700. Before that, we used like 250 and 150. So I'm going to look to see if we could increase that or we could use some of the money out of the American Rescue Plan Act. So thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned, and the next meeting begins at 6:30. Thank you all.